What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel, and today we're here to talk about last night's Dynamite, because good God, last night's Dynamite was good, wasn't it? Now, I'm not here to start a new series on the channel where I review Dynamite every week. I just won't be able to do that. A big reason I'm doing that today is I'm off work today. I took today off as an annual leave day. Because of that, I'm not going to be off work every single Thursday to talk about Dynamite every single Thursday. To be perfectly honest, I'm not able to watch Dynamite in its entirety most weeks just because of my work week and where I am and where it lands in the week. But I'm here to talk about a couple of things that happened on Dynamite, and just in general kind of talk about how last night's Dynamite feels like such a good step forward for AEW. And I think especially considering that AEW has been taking a lot of steps forward, and a lot of the sort of negative emotions many people were feeling towards AEW over the last few months are slowly beginning to dissipate. And I hate doing the whole "are we back? Is AEW back?" Obviously I made one after Wrestle Dream, and we continued to be in the trenches. But I think when you look at last night's Dynamite and you really see when AEW does what AEW does best, it's nearly unbeatable. And I just think we have to look no further than last night's Dynamite for the proof of that. The main talking point is, of course, that match between Jon Moxley and Cope for the AEW World title, the street fight. I feel like everyone knew going into this. Their match from Revolution wasn't great. I don't think it was a particularly bad match, but I think its positioning on the match card, plus the fact it went, I believe, 34 minutes, it kind of led to it being a bit of a stinker. Like I say, I don't think in its isolation that match is that bad, but when you put it in where it was, after the 3-match stretch of Tony versus Mariah, Kenny versus Takeshita, and then Ospreay and Fletcher in the cage, you had this match was never going to be in a good spot. And it also went, nearly 20 minutes more, or I think more than 20 minutes over what they gave Tony and Mariah and what they were able to accomplish in such a short period of time. Cope and Mox severely underdelivered in the 30 plus minutes they were given. And I think a lot of things were working against that match. I think the sort of general sort of apathy towards Mox's title reign at this point, because I feel like a lot of people were kind of not even more in the we're not in the Jericho range yet, where we're like, we want people to have him take this belt off him, but we don't care about watching until he loses that belt. I feel like we're slowly inching towards the range of apathy with Mox's reign right now. But I think last night's match kind of proved to everyone that we should never be underestimating Mox. And I've gone on record to say I've really, really enjoyed Cope's time in AEW. I don't think his return since his injuries looked all that impressive, especially compared to just how good I thought he was in his first run back with the company, or with the company rather. And I don't want to take a lot away from Cope here, because I really enjoyed Cope in that match last night. It's probably, for me, the best he's looked since he came back. And in general, the match was good. It was nothing special until the very end. And you know exactly what I'm talking about. We got the spiked bat out, and Mox took a bump onto it. Right onto it. Flat back bump onto this spiked bat. And it stuck in his back, and Paul Turner and Wheeler Yuta were trying to pull it out of his back. And from then until the end of the match, and even kind of as we were ramping up towards then, something shifted. I was just watching it. For me, at least, I felt something shift. And I could just see Mox going for it and going for it and going for it. And that's probably because he knows, I'm going to be taking this bump onto the nail bat soon. I need to get myself psyched up for this. I need to get it going. But when you see that, and you see that stark reminder of Deathmatch Mox, it's a reminder to me that 1, my goat is not washed, and 2, my goat will never be washed. And it's the most anyone's been talking about Jon Moxley for a really, really long time in a positive light. And as much as it is grim and hard to watch, I absolutely fucking love the spot. It's just a reminder of how insane Mox is. That he's like, yeah, let's do this. That'll be a good idea. That'll get people to talk. And, when we have Mox posture as the big, tough, bad guy, and then everyone needs to come and help him out, it really kind of has led a lot of people to forgetting just how good Jon Moxley is. And, there's no doubt in my mind that Jon Moxley is the ace of AEW. You can't look at me and you can't tell me anyone else in All Elite Wrestling has earned the title of ace apart from Jon Moxley. He has been there from the start. He has been there through everything. He was the champ that carried that belt through the majority of COVID and no crowds. Last night, again, when we had these snowstorms that were stopping people from being able to make it to TV, Mox drove 11 hours because he couldn't get a flight. Drove 11 hours to Omaha, Nebraska, to a crowd of, I believe someone said it was less than 2,000 people there because there was a lot of snow and it was difficult to get to the venue. Drove 11 hours to take that bump onto the spike bat. Just insane. And again, when you look at this card and you look at a lot of what's happened, it does kind of remind us of, you know, times where there has been things which stop people getting to TV. You look at like COVID, but you also look at times there's been, you know, again, storms and weather issues that have stopped certain talent making it to TV. And the card last night didn't feel like it was being thrown together out of necessity. And everything worked for me. Everything worked for me. And again, I don't want to throw out the sweeping, is AEW back? Have we fixed all the problems? Because we've not. This was just an incredibly good episode of television, in my opinion at least. But you look at what's gone on and you look at the way that this card was built. You had everything here, and it never, like I say, it never feels at any point like something was thrown together to be thrown together. The only thing to me that feels like it maybe, you know, it's not even that. I think the match with Megan Bayne and Chris Statlander could have felt like it was thrown together just to have something on the card and fill out more time. But it didn't feel like that. The only one that really felt like that was Ospreay and AR Fox. But every week, Dynamite just has a match that is hoops for the sake of hoops. So that didn't even feel out of place. And I want to touch on that Ospreay and Fox match. For me, that's the only match that didn't really work. It was good. I just didn't really care. I don't know, a lot of people have been talking about that as kind of one of the highlights of last night. It just wasn't for me. It just didn't really click for me. That's, you know, nothing against either men. I'm a big fan of AR Fox. Like I say, I'm slowly coming back around on Will Ospreay. It just didn't tickle the boxes for me, but I still thought it was good. But another match I mentioned there, one thing that again helps remind me of the sort of early spirit of AEW is Megan Bayne and Chris Statlander. God almighty, this match was good. Big girl grabs, baby. Big horsewomen grabs. So good. Megan Bayne, already a star, already being presented as one of the biggest threats in the division, going out there against one of the division's biggest stars of all time in Chris Statlander, and really just giving Megan Bayne an opportunity to show what she can do. And it is such an easy thing to do, but it's something. And again, I don't like doing the whole compare. But they did this in WWE, that's why this is bad or this is good. But new signings in WWE are kind of rarely given the opportunity, an opportunity like this, to show themselves off. New signings and new call-ups in WWE kind of typically are given quick, easy, over very quickly matches. Yeah, even if they're not outright squash matches, you know, sometimes these guys are winning in sort of 2 or 3 minutes. And it's infinitely more important to the development of a character and to get someone over is if you do exactly what you did last night and you've got Megan Bayne, big, strong, powerful woman, new signing, Chris Statlander, big, strong, powerful woman, one of the aces of our, go out there and wrestle, you know? Let's just let them go out there and have a match. And I thought it was fantastic. It's done a lot to build up Megan Bayne as she moves closer and closer towards Toni Storm. I think putting her, you know, debuting Megan Bayne and then almost instantly putting her in a title program with, you know, with the face of the AEW women's division is absolutely the right move there. And it's going to help to create a new start in Megan Bayne. And I don't think she's going to win this title off of Toni, but having presented her in this way, where she's doing all these things against currently and already established stars, it just means that when she does get to that title match, probably at Dynasty, and loses, it doesn't hurt her stock massively. And with a women's division that has kind of maybe struggled to have a lot of stars simultaneously or keep their momentum kind of over time, maybe. I think AEW's women's division's booking has been fairly and historically inconsistent. Not to say bad, but you know, you look at, you know, what did they do with Ruby Soho after she didn't win the TBS title against Jade? You know, what did they do with, like the Bunny after Deathmatch Bunny. It's a lot of people in that division who have came in, been great. You're not going to win the title just now. Okay, I don't want to play with you anymore. It kind of feels like that, and obviously I know that Ruby is a baby and all that stuff, so that's not why she's not on TV. But I mean, obviously before that, she kind of came in, big deal, and then she was Soraya's backup. Elsewhere on the card, we had another women's match, and another women's match that felt important. We had the CEO, Mercedes Moné, versus Billie Starkz. We're finally pushing towards Mercedes versus Athena. We're finally pushing towards getting Athena onto WWE TV and really pushing it. Billie looked incredible. Spiked Mercedes with a fucking CTE driver for the love of the game. Billie Stark's entire offense is just, one of us is going to die taking this move. And I'm just going to try my best to make sure it's not me that dies whilst I do this move. And I love that about Billie Starkz. I've been a big Billie Starkz fan for a good number of years now. I believe she's 2021 now. I first became aware of her, I think she was like 16, 17 on the indies. And I saw a couple of matches on like IWTV and places like that. And she was so good back then. She's only getting better. The more experience that she gets in pro wrestling, and she's still scarily young. She's one of my favourite wrestlers in the world, and as much as she didn't get the win last night, this ultimately pushes Mercedes versus Athena up the agenda, which is good. And then we had the number one contenders match, the 4-way match, which I believe just sort of typifies just where AEW is going at the minute in terms of building new stars. Something I've spoken about on this channel for a very long time is how worried I was about the position on the card of this man right here, Dunkzilla Mark Davis, ever since they started giving Kyle the big singles push and he was out injured. Because, for me, I've always preferred Davis. Davis was always my guy in Aussie Open. And I understand why many promoters kind of pushed Kyle as a singles guy, even when they weren't, even after they were both kind of came back from their injuries and stuff. Because Kyle's younger, more athletic, I guess more flashy in the ring at times, I guess. But he's a much younger athlete. Davis is a fair bit older, but that doesn't really matter. I've always been a big Davis guy. But when they gave Kyle this big monster push and brought Davis back, we've kind of just been using him as like a bit of a lackey heel. I've been a bit like, oh god, what's going on here? But when he beat Mark Briscoe last week, I was buzzing, and he showed out last night. And again, I feel like last night's Dynamite really sort of typifies what made AEW special in the early days. Is we're going to go out there, the bell's going to ring, and that's where we are going to butter our bread. We are going to go out there and we are going to show that we're the best wrestle isn't just a catchphrase. We're going to show that whilst, you can main event the biggest show of the year by saying a meme word from 2015, that's not what goes on here. And for people who are, rightfully so, fed up with the Jey Uso experiment and what's going on over in Connecticut, what's going on in AEW is really, I don't know, I feel like recently they're getting back to what made them so special in the early days of AEW, and it's been a sort of consistent thing that's been growing and growing and growing in the background, with with the exception of a few things. The Death Rider story, just hasn't landed. But I feel like we're closer to restoring the feeling, as it were, than we have been in a while. And I feel like as we build into Dynasty, we have Swerve probably winning the title again, a year on from when he won it last time. We've got Hangman announced he's going for the Owen, probably to wrestle Swerve at All In Tech. I mean, it will be whoever wins the Owen goes to All In, so it'll be Hangman winning the Owen to go to All In Texas to wrestle Swerve. You've got, going into Dynasty, we have Kenny Omega versus Speedball Mike Bailey versus Ricochet for the International Championship. We've still got Okada as the Continental Champion. We have all these things that are just going, and all these stories that are building, and a lot of these stories have a very clear-cut final destination. Even if it is 2-3 feuds down the line, we can see Swerve is wrestling for the championship, Hangman is entering the tournament to wrestle for that championship in a few months. We're building to that. Again, we're building to the final chapter, at least for now, in that story. You look at, with Omega and Okada, we're probably also building towards them. in Texas. We're probably building towards Athena and Mercedes in Texas. And when I spoke about the WrestleMania build, one of the things that has annoyed me about the build to WrestleMania, like I mentioned in my previous video, is that Triple H has seen the criticism of his long-term booking and essentially booking Cody's title win 2 WrestleManias in advance. And this year for the build just left himself with way too many options, which has made everything a little bit too confusing as we get closer and closer to Mania. And while stuff is beginning to settle, not a lot of it still makes a lot of sense. Like, Drew's reason for going after Priest is that Priest was always there when Punk was making his life a misery. So that the reason for that feud makes Drew look like a little bitch, because he lost his feud with Punk and now he's going, well, my issue is actually more with the person who was benefited by Punk putting the boots to me at every opportunity. Because I can't beat Punk, it doesn't make sense for what Drew's character is and where it has been. And again, I feel like that's a symptom of Triple H refusing to lock the plans down in advance. And I feel like AEW is on the path right now where a lot of their plans feel locked and they feel sensible and they feel good. And I'm just excited that we are back in a place where AEW feels fresh and exciting and good again, and for the most part WWE feels the same. I'm very happy that the 2 main wrestling brands are thriving right now, and I don't mean thriving in terms of who drew the most and what was the gate, because I don't work for WWE or AEW and I'm not a fucking loser. But that's all I wanted to come on here and kind of say today. I feel like last night's Dynamite is a good sign, is what I'm trying to say. I feel like last night's Dynamite is a real sort of show of strength for where AEW is at. Not to say that the shows haven't been good recently. They have been, for the most part, I would say in recent times, have been fairly good this year and towards the end of last year as well. I feel like AEW has again been kind of trending up. But the fact that last night's Dynamite was done on essentially a panic booking because a lot of people couldn't get to TV and still felt that good and consistent, that's what I'm very happy about, because it feels like we're getting closer and closer to, I guess, AEW being back. But that's what I wanted to come on here and talk about today. I felt so compelled to discuss how good Dynamite was after it was absolutely fantastic last night. But let me know what you guys thought of the show down below in the comments. Let me know if you're excited for the direction that this is going. Are you excited for Dynasty? Are you excited for All In? Let me know everything you feel down below. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe. Share this to your friends and show them the handsome man with the good wrestling opinions. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.